Right, let's talk about this 19-coach dynasty league. There have been a few seasons, but season 5, man, that was something else. It wasn't just about the final score. Nope, it was a total masterclass in coaching philosophy, staying cool under pressure, and just pure dominance. So let's break down the definitive story of how a champion was crowned. So you gotta ask yourself, right? In a league this packed with talent, what's the real difference between a contender and an actual champion? I mean, is it just having the best players, the perfect playbook? Or is there something deeper, something more fundamental going on? Well, season 5, it pretty much gave us the answer, loud and clear.
Okay, so the whole season basically boiled down to this huge clash of ideas. Two totally different ways of thinking. On one side, you had structural control. These are the coaches who build their teams like a machine, super disciplined, methodical, consistent. Just mistake-free football. Then, on the other side, weaponized volatility. These are the guys who live for the big play, the high-risk, high-reward stuff. They're wild, unpredictable, and downright dangerous. So you've got this epic showdown between two completely opposite ways to win a football game.
So, how did this whole philosophical battle shake out during the regular season? Well, two coaches just rose above all that chaos. And guess what? They both were masters of that absolute control philosophy. First up, let's talk about Coach Parlayed Arkansas. We call him the balanced alpha for a reason. I mean, just look at this season. Undefeated, SEC champion. He had to go through an absolute murderer's row of coaches. We're talking Lido, TJ, and he did it with this killer combo of a big play passing game and a super controlled ground attack. It was just unstoppable. Honestly, probably the most complete season we've ever seen in this league. And he wasn't alone at the top. You also had Coach Bone, the structural titan over at Indiana. And yeah, you guessed it, he also ran the table, undefeated in the regular season. His whole identity was built on this defense that covered everything and an offense that was just ruthlessly efficient. Coach Bone's style was all about making adjustments on the fly and being incredibly consistent. He would just slowly and methodically squeeze the life out of every team he played.
Okay, but look, we all know the regular season is one thing. The playoffs, that's a whole different animal. This is where the pressure gets cranked up to 11, and we really find out which of these philosophies can stand the heat when it all comes down to it. And as the playoffs started to roll on, a really interesting pattern started to show itself. Sure, the volatility guys created some amazing fireworks. I mean, we'll get to Moo's insane comeback in a second. But when it came to the biggest moments, the really high-stakes games, it was the control guys who kept winning. It's like volatility could get you an invitation to the party, but it was structure that was taking home the trophy. And speaking of those high-stakes moments, I just want you to look at this score for a second. 28-3. This right here, this wasn't just a score. It became the defining moment of the entire first round. It was a warning shot to the whole league. So what's the story here? Well, that 28-3 lead was built on pure, uncut volatility from Coach Jalen. Just an absolute explosion. But then, it all fell apart. It was Coach Moo's calm, steady, unshakable composure that let him just chip away until he pulled off the impossible comeback, winning 49-45. I'm telling you, this one game was a perfect snapshot of the entire season. Volatility gets you a huge lead and then collapses, while structure just endures. So that brings us to the first semifinal, and this was a clash of the titans of control. You had Coach Parlay's balanced attack going up against Coach Lido's ground and pound machine at Texas. And man, it was just a brutal defensive fistfight, a real slugfest. But in the end, it was Parlay's mastery in key situations that made the difference. He squeaked it out 21-15. And in the other semifinal, pure heartbreak. Coach Bone's perfect, incredible season at Indiana, it was over. He lost to Coach Ree's Michigan, a team that was the complete opposite, all about those explosive, high-ceiling plays. And that final drive from Marie, wow. It was an absolute masterclass in being clutch, scoring the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds, a 21-17 stunner. So we saw that structure wasn't invincible. It had a crack, but it took a perfectly timed, perfectly executed volatile strike to find it. So there it is. The stage is set for the national championship. This is it, the final exam. The ultimate showdown between the two philosophies that defined the entire season. And what a matchup it was. You've got Parlay, the balanced alpha, representing structure, and on the other side, Ree, the ceiling assassin, representing volatility. The whole thing came down to one simple question.
Could Rhee's explosive clutch magic create enough splash plays to break through Parlay's seemingly flawless system? A system designed to win no matter what kind of game you threw at it. The answer? A loud, clear no. Not even close. It was a dominant performance, a statement victory. Coach Parlay absolutely put on a masterclass. So you're asking, how did he pull it off? It was all about pure mastery in the moments that mattered most. Third downs, in the red zone, he was just unshakable. And he showed he could win in literally any way imaginable. You want to have a shootout? Fine. You want to grind it out defensively? He could do that too. That's what we call a multi-script win. In the end, his balance just completely overwhelmed Rhee's volatility. And really, that's the big takeaway from the whole season. That debate that was raging from week 1, it got settled, once and for all, on the biggest stage possible. Structure wasn't just a good idea, it was the key that unlocked a championship. So, where do we go from here? What does this all mean for the future of the league? While a win this big, this decisive, it does more than just end a season. It sends shockwaves through the entire league. It completely reshapes the landscape and sets the stage for a brand new era in Season 6. Check this out. This is the new world order. Coach Parlay is all by himself up there in Tier 1, in a league of his own. Right below him, in Tier 2, you've got the other top dogs. The super-structured Coach Bone, the tough-as-nails Lido, and the explosive ceiling assassin Rhee. And then you have the volatility tier. This is where guys like Joe, TJ, and AD live. Super talented coaches, but now they've got to figure out, how in the world do we break through this new ceiling that structure has built? And believe me, the rest of the league is not sitting still. They're already adjusting. The offseason was just a total frenzy, a mad dash for a fresh start. Jalen's moving to a powerhouse program at LSU, trying to bounce back. AD is taking his high-powered RPO game to USC. And you've got these rising stars like Jacoby and Ellis who are finally getting their shot at the big time. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is retooling for what's next. And hey, if you thought for even 1 second that things were going to cool down, you were dead wrong. Week 1 of Season 6 already gave us an instant classic. Coach Bone got a little bit of revenge, hitting a game-winning field goal to beat Moo, the comeback king himself. The drama is already back in full force. So that leaves us with one final, huge question. A new king sits on the throne. A philosophy of winning has been proven. So what happens now in Season 6? Does everybody just try to copy the champion's blueprint? Or is some new challenger going to rise up with a totally different style and just shatter this new mold all over again? I guess we're going to have to wait and find out.